Welcome to the League of Women Voters Perrysburg Area's 2023 Candidates Forum. I'm Deborah Greenlee Gorman, the president of the Perrysburg League, and our forum today is being held at the Way Public Library, and we thank them for the use of this meeting room. The forum is being video recorded by WBGU for future on-demand viewing by the public. We appreciate their help in making the forum available. We ask you not to make audio or video recordings during the forum and to observe the League's rule that the recording of each race be viewed only in its entirety. The forum has three parts: Perrysburg City Council, Perrysburg School Board, and Perrysburg Township Trustee. The Perrysburg Township Fiscal Officer race will also be on the November 7th ballot. However, this is an uncontested race, and the League only conducts forums for contested races. The League has published a voter guide in the Perrysburg Messenger Journal and online at vote411.org, where voters can learn even more about the candidates, races, and issues. We solicited questions from the public and League members prior to the forum, and they have been screened for our moderator to pose to the candidates. The candidates have not seen the questions in advance. Our screeners were League members Christy Bezzosi, Kathy Donahue, and me. We have no in-person audience today, but I would like to acknowledge the WBGU staff that is recording the program and our League volunteers. Shirley Johnson and Michelle Sweetser will be our timers. Greeters are Karen Roderick Lingeman and Mel Ward. Roseanne Barker is assistant moderator, and our moderator is Jackie Stedman. I'll turn the program over to you, Jackie.
Thank you, Deborah. I will take a moment to highlight our ground rules for today's forum, which were previously shared with the candidates. First, I will introduce the candidates and read the 100-word biographical statement that each candidate submitted. After that, we will move directly to questions and answers. As mentioned earlier, questions for the candidates were submitted in advance by citizens in our area and members of the League of Women Voters. The questions were then reviewed and selected by a committee of League members to avoid duplication and to choose appropriate questions for each office. I will designate which candidate will be the first to answer each question. After this candidate has answered, the other candidates will have an opportunity to answer the same question. To be fair to the candidates, we will vary the order in which candidates respond to each question. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer the question. Our timers will notify the candidates as they approach their 90-second time allotment. When the timekeeper indicates this time is up, the candidate will be permitted to finish a sentence. Candidates will be given 2 minutes at the close of the forum to make closing remarks. Closing remarks will be made in the opposite order as the biographical statements will be read. One last item. Rick Reddig is a candidate for City Council, but is not in attendance due to a prior commitment. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'll start with our biographical statements. First, I'd like to introduce Corey Coleman. Corey Coleman was born and raised in Wood County, Ohio, where he has resided most of his adult life. He holds his bachelor's degree in middle childhood education from Bowling Green State University and his Juris Doctorate from the University of Toledo College of Law. Corey has been practicing law for nearly 10 years and is a partner at Stearns & Hammer. He is the proud husband of Dr. Lauren Coleman, loving father to Austin Coleman, and stepfather to Lena and Lillian Scott. Corey is seeking re-election to Perrysburg City Council. Our next candidate is Jan Materney. I was first elected in November of 2019. I chair the Service Committee and serve on the Utilities and Safety Committees. I graduated from BGSU with a bachelor's degree. I am also a certified public manager and was a certified peace officer. I've lived in the Perrysburg area for 26 years. I retired after 30 years at ODOT. While living in Port Clinton, I volunteered as an advanced EMTA and also as an auxiliary deputy with Wood County Sheriff Department. My son Jonathan is a 2010 graduate of Perrysburg High School. He is currently a petty officer in the Navy. Our next candidate is Tim McCarthy. Tim McCarthy has served as a member of City Council since 1988 and has chaired the Planning and Zoning Committee during that time. He has previously been elected council president and served as mayor in 2005. His other committee assignments have included every other council committee. He is a past member of the Historic Landmarks Commission and currently serves on the Wood County Committee on Aging. Tim is an attorney specializing in the areas of public and employment law. He and Josette raised their 4 sons in Perrysburg and are longstanding members of St. Rose Parish. Our last candidate here today is Kelly Wellstein. Kelly Wellstein lives, Carrie. My apologies, Carrie Wellstein. Carrie Wellstein lives at 145 West 2nd Street with her husband John and their 2 teenaged children. Ms. Wellstein graduated from Perrysburg High School in 1995 and BGSU in 1999. Carrie taught art in Chicago before moving back to Perrysburg in 2009. In 2013, Ms. Wellstein opened Create, art studio and workshop, which has enjoyed success in downtown Perrysburg for over 10 years. Carrie and her husband also own a Perrysburg-based real estate management company. Ms. Wellstein has been an active volunteer in the community, serving on the boards of Downtown Perrysburg, Inc., Perrysburg Schools Foundation, and Grace Preschool. Thank you all for being here today. We'll go ahead and get started with the questions. The first question is, we're going to start with Carrie Wellstein. Carrie, the question is, will you work to complete the proposed plan for a path along the river from the water plant to Louisiana Boat Club?
Yes, absolutely I will. That is a plan that I am very excited about. I walk that path all the time with my friends and my family. It's a beautiful path. I feel as though everyone in Perrysburg should be able to enjoy it. It's not accessible right now, and it's also very, very wet in the mornings. Yes, I would be so happy to see that whole plan completed because it is something wonderful that we have to offer the community of Perrysburg, especially if we can add some more parking down by the boat club and make maybe a better restroom down there. I think there's a lot of potential to enhance that area so that it is more user-friendly. I don't think it will, I know there has been opposition. I don't think it will negatively impact the neighborhood around it. I just think that it will make something that's already a joy even better. And I hope very much to see it happen.
Thank you, Carrie. The same question for Corey Kuhlman. Would you like me to repeat the question? Sure. Okay. Corey, will you work to complete the proposed plan for a path along the river from the water plant to Louisiana Boat Club?
Absolutely. We're actually, I think in the process, we just approved the next phase of that plan, which should add, I think it connects that path to the road that goes to the wastewater treatment. So I'm excited for that to begin. But absolutely, that river is the resource that Perrysburg really needs to tap into as a city, and all of our citizens should be welcome to enjoy that. It's a very unique part of our town, and I agree with Carrie wholeheartedly. It's going to be important to develop that and make it accessible for everybody.
Thank you, Corey. Jan, same question for you.
This is beginning to be a theme here about yes. I agree with both of what they said. Anybody knows me, have talked to me I push bike paths and multi-use lanes paths. And I think in the last couple of years, it has just boomed in popularity, and this would just be an extension of that. I would say to the people concerned about real estate values or the impact upon their homes. I lived in Bowling Green at the time. They put Slippery Elm in, and that was the biggest complaints were those two things. those concerns were never materialized, and in fact, they increase property value because it adds to quality of life issues.
Thank you, Jan. Same question, Tim McCarthy. Would you like me to repeat that?
No, thank you. I'm glad to hear we're unanimous on this. Definitely, we need to complete that walking path. My God, we've talked about that for at least 15 or 20 years. And I think it's reached a point where there's general acceptance and understanding now by everyone in the city, and I think to a greater extent to the property owners on Front Street, that indeed this walking path is going to happen. It will be done nicely. It will be done in a way that their properties remain secure. As Jan said, that it'll be a safe path. And it's, I'll repeat in part what Corey said. The riverfront is an asset that everyone in the community has a share in. And it needs, for that reason, be accessible so that everyone can go down there and enjoy it. And I think it will only add commercial value to our downtown area. If you had a more welcoming walking path along the river, I think visitors would make it a point to find their way to Perrysburg, and then hopefully they can enjoy our downtown area as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the second question, and we'll start with Corey Kuhlman. The question is, what skills and experiences do you have for understanding new growth, finances, and maintaining city facilities and services?
Oh, that's a big question. I'll start with my experience on city council. I think I've served 4 years now. You get a unique peek under the hood, if you will, from being a private citizen and coming into that city council group. And it's been phenomenal. Everybody I've worked with in the city, it's been great to work with them. But that's part of the experience. You start understanding how your planning and zoning regulations play into your development. And management. So we're looking at the budget and making room for projects. That's played into it. But I also, privately, I'm a lawyer. I work at a firm. I'm now taking over the management of that firm. So the financial planning is kind of natural with what I do. And on top of that, within my firm, I specialize in real estate development and real estate transactions. So I have a unique introspective into the local real estate market as well. And I think that really helps me on city council kind of wrap my head around the bigger picture, and strategic growth is what I want to focus on while I'm hopefully in my second term.
Okay, thank you very much. Jan, same question for you. Would you like me to repeat it?
Go ahead.
What skills and experiences do you have for understanding new growth, finances, and maintaining city facilities and services?
I try to make this brief, but that's a topic I could easily spend a half hour to hour on. We need to do, I agree with Corey about the strategic growth. The biggest thing is infrastructure. We need to have adequate infrastructures in place to maintain what we have, and also expand that growth, and that'll be an important part of that. My experience and my training with my certified manager position, I'm very knowledgeable about city finances. For example, a lot of people don't realize certain funds can only be used in certain places. An excellent example is public utilities. The city, anything outside taxes, the city cannot give the public utilities department tax dollars. Public utilities has to be entirely self-sufficient. And a lot of people don't understand that with the upcoming levies. I've worked in so many aspects of government that I'm very knowledgeable about it and the work that is required of it. And I feel like I didn't adequately answer it, but I'm running out of time, so I'll wrap it up.
Thank you. Tim, same question for you.
Yes, most of the experience that I've had in those areas obviously has been during my years on council, where I currently serve on the Finance and Planning and Zoning Committees. Particularly on the Planning and Zoning Committee, we are focused like a laser on growth and the impact on schools. And we utilize various tools to control that growth to the extent we can, and we do that at the first blush with our land use plan, which was just updated. So we're very much interested in having planned, sustained, workable growth. And on the issue of the city buildings, I'm happy to hear that question. I think there's a recognition on council now that our city facilities need to be upgraded. That became painfully apparent during the pandemic. We have kind of scattered locations where various employees work, and we need, and I think we're going to do this in the near future, we need to come up with a workable city hall facility that's modern and has the proper sound and computer equipment, and I think that's an important task that lies ahead over the next few years.
Thank you. Carrie Wellstein, I'm going to repeat the question. What skills and experiences do you have for understanding new growth, finances, and maintaining city facilities and services?
Well, as a small business owner, it has definitely given me a wonderful lesson in fiscal responsibility. So I'm great at that, and I'm also great at creative problem solving. My family owns an investment and management company in real estate in Perrysburg. That's been a part of my life since I was probably 10 years old. That has given me a huge amount of knowledge and information on how our real estate is affected by growing the wrong way, how it can be enhanced by doing things correctly. I feel as though I have a wonderful pulse on the community because I am visible and I'm living and breathing it every day, walking around downtown, living downtown, and talking to everybody who comes in and out of my shop. I know any growth needs to be done carefully and strategically. It's inevitable, it's exciting, but it has to be done in a way where we don't lose what makes our community special and that we keep the same quality of life for the people who have lived here forever and then for future generations.
Thank you, Carrie. Okay, the third question, I'm going to go ahead and start with Jan Materney. Jan, the question is, what is your view of the proposed roundabout at State Route 25 and Front Street?
That's a good question. It came through my committee, and I recommended it go on to council. We need to do something with that intersection. It's not workable the way it is, especially if we want to use that multi-use path more. If any of you have been in either one of the parking lots, whether it's by wastewater treatment or by Orleans Park, and try to get out at certain times of the day, it's very problematic. I do support the roundabout. I have to say, to a certain extent, it's hard to support something I haven't seen the plans for, and I'd like to see the plans before I go any further with that.
Okay, thank you, Jan. Tim, the same question for you.
I'm generally a big fan of roundabouts. I think they're very successful and work very well. That particular roundabout gives me a lot of questions and concerns. You've got three busy streets coming in together. It's a heavy traffic volume. And I am concerned about how you're going to have pedestrian movements through that area. So the way I'm thinking about it is I'll listen to the experts. ODOT's going to look at this. TMACOG's going to look at it. I'll look at what they recommend, what their findings are, and consider it then. But at this point, I'd have to say that it's going to take some convincing to persuade me that a roundabout works there. Orleans will be developed gradually over an extended period of time, and I recognize that's a problem that may be confronting us in the future, but I think I'd rather see Orleans development occur at the gradual pace that's anticipated, and perhaps then you can evaluate whether a roundabout is needed.
Thank you so much. Carrie, same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
I feel as though roundabouts can definitely serve a purpose in certain locations. but in my experience with roundabouts, which I feel like I've had a lot of experience with roundabouts traveling, and roundabouts that are put in areas where there's a high rate of pedestrian and bicycle traffic, they're not safe. And that's from personal experience of trying to cross them, of trying to drive through them, and certain locations that I visited where there's been a roundabout right before an entrance of a major area or with bike paths and all of that. There's also a really strong citizens action that is taking place where they have gone and done their own research, and they've been speaking at every council meeting, and the research is significant, and it already is saying that it's not pedestrian and cyclist safe, there's a loss of parkland, the cost is not effective, it'll hurt the historical essence of our downtown. And these citizens have impressed me because they have gone about their research the right way. They are speaking about it in a very non-confrontational method, and I really think that they deserve to be heard and considered, and that their research should be valued. Thanks.
Thank you. Corey, same question for you. What is your view of the proposed roundabout at State Route 25 and Front Street?
So I know there's a lot of buzz on this topic, clearly, from the inception of that plan and us applying for that grant from TMACOG. I think the simple answer is we're not ready for that analysis. That needs to be a holistic analysis, so it'd be irresponsible of me to take a position right now. I trust everybody we work with at the city. I trust everybody on council. Right now, we are applying for potential funding for this project. What the end product is going to need an entirely different analysis than when we apply for these grants. And I'm thankful we have citizen scrutiny. That's what we want at council. We want citizen input. Even if it's against the ideas we're putting forward, it's valuable input. But when we are addressing traffic flow issues, somebody's going to make a sacrifice with every project we put forward, especially when it deals with our roadways. Some private citizen is losing what they feel is part of their property, and I completely understand that. So am I open to the roundabout at the river? Absolutely. But we need to look at it holistically with what we're doing with Orleans Park and Front Street as a whole. Are we going to add more pedestrian crossings there to help address the traffic flow? Because I agree, there's a concern there with pedestrian and bike traffic. So am I a proponent for roundabouts? Absolutely. It needs to be done responsibly, and hopefully we can do it in a way that all of our citizens feel comfortable with what we choose.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to our last question. And Tim, we'll start with you. The question is, what should be done to maintain and/or improve our water and sewer infrastructure while eliminating sewage overflows?
Well, we're doing that now by trying to modernize our plants in every way we can. And we're actually engaged in the discussions with the Ohio EPA now about the steps the city needs to take over the coming years to deal with combined sewer overflows, but also have an effective wastewater treatment plant. At council Tuesday night, I think we spent just shy of $3 million on upgrades and improvements to the wastewater treatment plant that were needed. We have a really excellent team down there now, a leadership team. We've had good leaders before, don't get me wrong, but I think the group we have down there now is the strongest as a team that we've had in many years, and they are recommending steps to us, and they're updating the equipment that we spent the money on Tuesday night, and I think that's the way, and we'll continue to separate our sewers, obviously, to try and deal with that combined sewer overflow issue. But we have to keep working at it with the help of our very effective city employees and leaders down there at the wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you. Carrie?
I'm really excited that the city is making our sewage treatment plant such a priority right now. Again, that's another beautiful part of our town is the river around it. It'd be wonderful if it didn't smell so bad, but I'm not sure if that's even possible. At the city council meeting on Tuesday, I was just attending, and I was excited about the $3 million that they're putting to enhance, and that they have caught some problems and that they're ready to invest in the treatment plant. But what really made me excited was at the chamber luncheon a couple weeks ago. I was seated with Joe Fawcett, who is our new city administrator, and he actually talked about water treatment plants as being magical. And I've never heard somebody use the word magical with a sewage treatment plant before. And the fact that that is our new leadership right now gives me a lot of hope that some really good things are going to be happening.
Thank you so much. Corey, same question for you. What should be done to maintain and/or improve our water and sewer infrastructure while eliminating sewage overflows?
So I think the first two have answered this wonderfully. I think the most important thing we've already done is putting people in positions of power to make those changes. Joe Fawcett, new administrator. We have Matt Coma, just took over the leadership of public utilities, and you have AJ Coleman, who's a bright young mind right under him. And what they're doing is preparing us for the future. It's a very forward-thinking group. What steps do we need to take to get us where we need to be? Because we do need to protect our resources, and Maumee River is certainly the biggest resource we have in our city. So empowering them was number one, and then being willing to kind of spend money on projects that aren't so appealing, quite frankly. No one gets too excited, other than maybe the four of us up here, about the investments in the water sewer district. But we need to do that going forward, and I'm really happy with the new employees we have in place and the technologies they are hoping to get funding for, so that we are ready for the future and the growth that comes with it.
Thank you. Jan?
I sit on the Public Utilities Committee, and there's a big misconception about when you use the word sewage overflows. We very rarely have pure sewage overflows. Most of them are combined, and that's the issue, is the stormwater, the infiltration of the stormwater into our sewer system, and correcting that. And we have a study going right now to pinpoint the areas and correct those, and that'll help us a lot towards reducing that altogether, and it's going to take a lot more work and investment. Getting to the treatment side, we just, as they said, invested a lot of money into our treatment plants. We're going to UV lights to help with bacteria, to process the water, clean it up, and other different processes we just bought. I used equipment that was a very good buy to help us further that and do a better job of processing it.
Thank you, Jan. Okay, now is the portion of the program where we move on to our closing remarks. That was fast. So we're going to go in reverse order from the way I read the biographies. So we'll start with you, Carrie. Your closing remarks, please.
Well, I've never given closing remarks before at a forum, so hopefully I'm doing them correctly. But as a first-time candidate, I feel as though I offer a fresh perspective and enthusiasm for local government. Owning a small business in our historic downtown has given me the opportunity to truly connect with the people in our community, and I've gained a unique insight into what Perrysburg needs to stay strong and successful. Running a small business has taught me the importance of fiscal responsibility and efficiency. I am a creative problem solver who is not afraid to think outside of the box. I grew up in Perrysburg, I've raised my family in Perrysburg, and now I hope to preserve the quality of life that we have enjoyed for future generations by helping to properly manage growth while retaining a strong sense of community. I look forward to representing Perrysburg as an approachable advocate who values relationships, the opinions of others, and open communication. I would appreciate your vote on November 7th for Perrysburg City Council.
Thank you very much. Tim, you're next for closing remarks.
I just want to thank the League for sponsoring this forum and giving us the chance to address some of the important issues we have in front of us these days. And I'd say it's been an honor to serve the city as a member of City Council for many years. I view it as a form of community service, much like some might coach basketball teams or whatever. This is the particular way I've chosen to serve the community, and I've been proud to do it. and hope to continue that service. I suppose the only other thing I'd say is we have 5 really good candidates running this time. And to all of you who vote and live in the city, whichever of the 4 of us you pick, the city will be in good hands. And so thank you again to the League.
Thank you, Tim. Jan, your closing comments?
I too would like to thank League of Women Voters. What you guys do is you're our superheroes of the elections, beside the election workers. And I was thrilled to announce my candidacy for re-election to Perrysburg City Council. Serving you for the past 4 years has been an honor and a privilege, and I'm eager to continue advocating for the vibrant community we are continuing to build here in Perrysburg. My vision remains clear: to ensure Perrysburg remains an ideal place to live, work, and raise a family. During my tenure, we achieved significant milestones that resonate with the vision we shared when I was first elected in 2019. We revitalized our city parks with upgraded playground equipment, collaborated with Wood County Plays and the Rotary Club to establish the first inclusive playground in Wood County, and introduce new pickleball courts for our citizens to enjoy. As we look to the future, managing Perrysburg growth is paramount. I'm deeply committed to addressing the challenges and opportunities that come with expansion, ensuring that our community retains the cherished small town feel and charm that we love. Rest assured, I will work tirelessly to uphold the values and aspirations of my fellow Perrysburg residents. I humbly ask for your continued support as we journey together towards a brighter future for Perrysburg.
Thank you. And Corey Coolman, your closing comments.
Well, thank you, of course, for putting this on. I'm sure Carrie feels the same. I know she didn't have that in her statement, but I wouldn't have said that initially, and I think everyone up here appreciates everything you guys do. So thanks first and foremost for that. Listen, I'm an investor in Perrysburg. I love living here. If I didn't love living here, I wouldn't be here. And I'm raising my family here. So every decision I make on city council, it really is close to my heart. And the 2 big things that I would consider my philosophy when I'm working on city council is keeping this a great place to raise a family. There's a reason we're a prize-winning town. And second is we need to keep what we have special, and that's done by strategic growth and implementing regulations and zoning in a way that's responsible so that we can keep our school systems afloat and well-funded. That's the challenge we face currently is managing growth. And I look forward to being a part of those decisions. And I just want to echo what Tim said. I know Rick is not here, but it is really flattering to be on a ballot with everybody that we're on the ballot with. If you're watching this and you don't know any of us, you could call any of us at any time. We'll give you the time of day to give your opinion. Rick's the exact same way. So when you're going in to vote, any 4 that you choose are going to do a phenomenal job. So just flattered that I'm one of the candidates as well, but I would surely appreciate serving 4 more years.
Okay, thank you very much. And thanks to everyone. That concludes this portion of our program. I really, really appreciate you participating today. And Deborah, I'll turn it back to you for your further remarks.
Thanks, Jackie. And again, thank you to our candidates. We do appreciate you being here today. And just a reminder for our viewers to go to vote411.org and click on Find What's on Your Ballot for more Q&A with the candidates and information about the candidates. So now we're going to take a short break, and when we resume, the Perrysburg School Board candidates will be on deck. So thank you. Welcome back to the League of Women Voters Perrysburg Area's 2023 Candidates Forum. I'm Deborah Greenlee Gorman, President of the Perrysburg League. We are ready to resume our forum today with the candidates for Perrysburg School Board. I'm going to repeat a few items from my earlier remarks for our candidates' benefit. We ask you not to make audio or video recordings during the forum and to observe the League's rule that the recording of each race be viewed only in its entirety. We solicited questions from the public and league members prior to the forum, and they have been screened for our moderator to pose to the candidates. The candidates have not seen the questions in advance. Our screeners were league members Christy Bezzosi, Kathy Donahue, and me. We have no in-person audience today, but I would like to acknowledge the WBGU staff that is recording the program and our league volunteers helping us out. Shirley Johnson and Michelle Sweetser will be our timers. Greeters are Karen Roderick Lingeman and Mel Ward. Roseanne Barker is assistant moderator, and our moderator is Jackie Stedman. And just one thing, did we review the timing with the set of candidates? No. Okay, so let's just take a minute there. We should have done that before we started. When you're asked your questions, you get 90 seconds to complete your answer. When you have 30 seconds left, you will see the sign down here, 30 seconds. And then when your 90 seconds is done, you'll see the stop sign. If you're in the middle of a sentence, you can complete that sentence, but then at that point, our moderator may cut you off, all right? So I think that's all of our instructions, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Jackie.
Thank you, Deborah. I'd like to take a moment to highlight our ground rules for today's forum, which were previously shared with the candidates. First, I'll introduce the candidates and read the 100-word biographical statement that was submitted. After that, we'll move directly to questions and answers. As mentioned earlier, questions for the candidates were submitted in advance by citizens in our area and members of the League of Women Voters. The questions were then reviewed and selected by a committee of league members to avoid duplication and to choose appropriate questions for each office. I will designate which candidate will be the first to answer each question. After this, the other candidates will each have an opportunity to answer the same question. To be fair to the candidates, we will vary the order in which they respond to each question. As Deborah mentioned, each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer the question. Our timers will notify you as you approach that, and then if you're in the middle of a sentence, you will be allowed to finish that. At the end, you will be given 2 minutes to make your closing remarks. Closing remarks will be made in the opposite order as the biographical statements were read. So we'll go ahead and get started. Start with the biography for Kelly Davis. Kelly has been a Perrysburg resident since 2015. She chose to move to Perrysburg because of the vibrant community and excellent schools. She obtained her bachelor's degree from Lourdes University in 2008 and immediately started her career as a pediatric RN. She also works as an adjunct faculty member teaching nursing clinicals at a community college and a local university. Kelly is a mother of 4 children, ages 22, 13, and 2 10-year-olds. Her 3 youngest children are students at Perrysburg schools. She participates in the CQ community at the schools, which promotes cultural intelligence. Our next candidate is Kelly Eubank. Kelly has called Perrysburg home for over 45 years and is a proud 1990 PHS graduate. She graduated with a BA in Communications from the University of Cincinnati. She has a sophomore and enjoys being an exchange student host family. As a current board member, Kelly sits on the Finance, Communications, and Policy committees. She also shows her passion for education and the district as an active member of the PHS Choir Theater Boosters and a substitute teacher. Kelly is a master gardener and a member of 2 local garden clubs. She attends Grace Church, enjoys playing pickleball, yoga, and boating. Our next candidate is Susan Roland Miller. Susan and her husband David have lived in Perrysburg for 27 years, raising their children here and through Perrysburg schools. With 30 years of experience in nonprofit leadership, Susan currently works as a consultant and at Maumee Valley Habitat for Humanity in the finance office. She chairs the district's Business Advisory Committee and is on the city's Historic Landmarks Commission. Susan has also served the district as treasurer of the Theater Boosters, as a substitute teacher, and as an annual volunteer with Jackets Giving Back. In her free time, Susan plays the piano and tries to train Arwen, her Labradoodle. Our next candidate is Ashley Sackett. Ashley Sackett has been a Perrysburg resident for 30 years. She graduated from Perrysburg High School with a 4.2 GPA, placing her in the top 5% of her class. Mrs. Sackett attended BGSU on a full academic scholarship where she majored in accounting. Professionally, Ashley has experience working at a CPA firm, the internal audit department at the Andersons, as well as holding positions in accounts payable, accounts receivable, and payroll for various other companies. Ashley is a parent of 3 children, a regular volunteer in the schools, and was a member of Perrysburg Schools' Strategic Planning Committee. Our next candidate is Laura Minke, and I don't have a biography available today. So we'll move on to our questions. The first question, we're going to start with you, Susan Rowland Miller, and I'll read the question, and I can repeat it at any time for any other candidate. The first question, how do you think Perrysburg schools will be affected by the recent expansion of the school voucher program?
So the school voucher program was approved as part of the budget this past year, and that budget allows for parents and guardians to get a voucher from the district or from the state to take to any school. And so that's a significant change in that before your district had to be a low-performing or underperforming district for you to get that voucher. So will more parents take the opportunity to have their child go to a private school? Since Perrysburg Schools performs in the top 6% of schools in the state, and the comparison isn't really available to the private schools since they aren't required to take the same testing to undergo the same kind of auditing that public schools are, I think it's going to be difficult for parents to really find a school district or a school that performs higher than Perrysburg, where their student would get a better education than they're receiving here. And so I don't expect that there will be a significant group of students leaving the district to go into private schools or parochial schools or other types of schools because the performance of the district is so strong.
Thank you, Susan. Ashley, same question for you. Would you like me to repeat it?
Sure.
Okay. How do you think Perrysburg schools will be affected by the recent expansion of the school voucher program?
As Susan said, our district is among one of the top districts in the state. So I don't think it will necessarily be affected in a student population that might be leaving. I think the biggest effect would be financially for our district. Expanding that voucher program will then divert funds from the public education to be able to be available for those vouchers for the families who do choose to send their children to a private institution. So I think that could be where Perrysburg may see in the future some sort of decline in their already small amount of state funding that is received from our government.
Thank you, Ashley. Laura Minke?
Knowing the stipulations of the voucher, as long as the district is doing a good job with education, the current kids who are enrolled, I believe, will stay within the district versus the children who are already attending private schools. It will just give the family more aid in allowing them to attend. Pretty much overall in our district, looking at the wealth, I don't think we'll see a big shift, but I do believe in other districts they will notice a big shift.
Thank you, Laura. Kelly Davis.
I agree with Ashley that, we may not be seeing a large quantity of our students in Perrysburg schools get pulled from those schools into more private schools because we do have top-notch academics, but what happens when we do the voucher programs is they've expanded it so that it's not based on financial need as much. You know, you don't have to have as low of an income to be able to utilize those vouchers. And then also, it's not based on school need. You know, a lot of times before it was if you were in a failing school district, then you would get the vouchers. What happens when we do that is that we're taking money from the Ohio pool of tax dollars. We're already funded by our citizens of Perrysburg. 68% of our school funding comes from Perrysburg residents, so we don't get much from the state to begin with. So when you get less money because some are going to these vouchers for private schools, then we don't get as much money from the state when we're already not getting much, and it pulls from that money that we're not getting. So far for the 23-24 school year, vouchers have totaled about $432 million. So that's $432 million that the schools in the state of Ohio get.
Thank you, Kelly. Kelly Eubank?
I tend to agree that in Perrysburg, I don't believe the expanded voucher program will affect Perrysburg's district that much. Like the other candidates have said, we're a top-notch district, excellent education. That's why people move here. That's why I moved back. I think the voucher program is one that is necessary for the state. Certainly people can utilize that, and there is a need. I see that more in other districts, not so much in Perrysburg. So I see a value in it, but I don't believe that it will affect Perrysburg that much.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, our second question, Ashley, we're going to start with you. And the question is, how will Perrysburg schools be affected by the Ohio legislature's plan to move most of the duties of the elected State Board of Education to a new department with personnel appointed by and under control of the governor's office?
House Bill 33 was passed, and I believe during this first week of October that transition was to take place, that the Department of Education would be renamed, and it's now the Department of Education and Workforce, and that is a cabinet-level agency that's going to be reporting to the governor. This will be led by the director who is appointed by the governor, and I feel having a position like that as being appointed, it takes away a lot of the voices of our constituency. It's representing maybe the thoughts and feelings of some of our state residents, but not all of those who would normally get to participate in electing the State Board of Education. So I feel like that could maybe cause some people to feel that they're not heard and that they're not maybe fairly represented.
Thank you, Ashley. Laura Minke.
Currently, this whole issue is really, as of this week, I believe, it is being held up by the Supreme Court, I think is who stopped it. So it's in a standstill for right now. We do have to remember that there is a certain percentage of the board that is appointed by the governor in the first place, and then there are those who are elected. And if you look across the history with that, they are mainly candidates from large cities. And we need to ask ourselves if this represents everybody in the state. Will we possibly have a fairer diversity in who is being put on the board if the governor elects it. Yes, it's going to change every time there's an election because you're going to have more one party or another party, and that's just the way politics are. So it will be interesting to see how long this gets held up, and it might be a moot point for years to come.
Kelly Davis. I'll repeat the question. How will Perrysburg schools be affected by the Ohio legislature's plan to move most of the duties of the elected State Board of Education to a new department with personnel appointed by and under control of the governor's office?
It's hard to say how the schools will be affected because we don't know what the governor's cabinet members would decide. But I can say, in a democracy, we get to elect our Ohio State Board members, and we should abide by those elections for the duties that we elected them for, and to have those duties pulled. It's a little deceiving to have that happen when, we're in a democracy and we should be able to have those choices. So, we don't know because we didn't willingly go in and elect those members of the board of the cabinet for those positions, what they're going to decide for Perrysburg schools. Do they understand our curriculum needs? Do they understand how many teachers and books and things like that we need? Are they going to take that into consideration? Now, we didn't elect them, so how do we know that they're going to have our best interests at heart? That's a little concerning.
Thank you, Kelly. Kelly Eubank?
I agree with what's been said. I think it's premature to know what the significance is going to be to Perrysburg schools. That's something that's going to, have to play out. Certainly they will be reporting to directly to DeWine. I know the previous representative, Kathy. I was acquaintances with her. I enjoyed, talking to her, watching her. And then if I had a question, I would reach out. So I hope that doesn't go away where you have a relationship with your local representative, or just where the communication is going to be, like how that will play out, where if you have concerns. So I certainly hope that that doesn't change. But I think it's a little premature to speculate. I believe, like Laura said, that it is still held up in the Supreme Court of Ohio. I'll be honest, I haven't watched the news in over a week, so I don't know if that was changed. I heard something happened on Friday, so I'm not sure. So, but it's just too early to speculate. But I shared my concerns, and I hope, the communication is still open and people can, share their concerns, and that's what a democracy is, so.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yes.
Susan Rowland Miller, same question.
I think this is an example of where a problem that was identified was solved with a poor solution. There was a sense that the current board, as it was functioning, both with the elected and appointed representatives on the state board, was not functioning appropriately, and so this was the solution that was brought forward, but I do think it removes some of that local connection that we have to the board. As we watch it play out, my biggest fear is that partisan politics will be even more involved in public education and the choices that are made and the decisions that are made. As I've talked with people in the community over the last month, that is a high concern to people of how partisan public education is becoming. And my concern would be that more autonomy is taken away from local boards and our teachers, that more mandates will come down from the state because they won't be vetted through a local process and through local representation. And so we don't know what's going to be the outcome. My fear is that it means that we're going to get more mandates that aren't appropriate possibly for our district and for our teachers.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, question 3. Laura, we're going to start with you. And the question is, what skills and experiences make you qualified to understand school finance, contract negotiations, and methods to deal with growth in the district.
I have previously served on another school board for over 11 years, so I have quite the extensive experience from that. During that time, I did serve for many years on the finance group. Very and well-versed with the whole contract negotiations on both the OOPSI side, which would be your support personnel, and the teacher's side. Also with bond levies, operating levies, PI levies, construction of a school, even going back when a bond levy fails and restructuring it so that it is more in line with what the citizens of the community want, need, and really, when it comes down to it, what they can afford. And sometimes that isn't what we necessarily want as a district, but it is our job as board members to function within what the local people tell us they want done and what they can do themselves. Growth, it's all about planning ahead and looking down the lane for what you need to do for your school.
Thank you, Laura. Kelly, same question for you.
So I'm an RN and I'm going to school for my master's in nursing, so I don't have a huge long resume of finance, but I will say I've gotten a lot of questions about finance stuff as I've been campaigning, and I have learned a lot, and I do know where to get answers. When I don't know answers, I know who to reach out to. I know how to learn these things. So I have learned a lot about finance, and I can assure you I have a lot of outreach into the community, and I want to talk to people, and I want to learn their concerns so that they can bring them to me, and I can use that in the board and use my connections for planning fiscally responsibly.
Thank you, Kelly. Kelly Eubank, and I'll repeat the question. What skills and experiences make you qualified to understand school finance, contract negotiations, and methods to deal with growth in the district?
Well, first and foremost, I've been on the board for the last 4 years, so I've been intimately involved in finance. I'm currently on the finance committee. And I really made it a priority when I got elected to understand the school finance and really be well-versed in finance and what it entails. So I feel I have a great understanding of that. And I too, if I have any questions, will reach out to Randy or people in the community. I often ask my mom, who's a CPA, questions, so been a great help. Contract negotiations, again, being on the board the last 4 years, I've gone through those. Being from Perrysburg for moving here since 1978, I've seen the growth. I've witnessed it. I had a graduating class in 1990 of 280. Currently, my daughter is a sophomore. She'll be graduating in 26. They're at 400 and some. So seeing that growth, knowing what land is still out there to be developed, it's about being proactive instead of reactive and working with the community and city council and what their expectations are. I know they have a growth plan as well. They're working with developers on the next years for Perrysburg. So working with them would be ideal.
Thank you, Kelly. Susan Rowland Miller, same question, please.
In my service to 2 churches in the area, as well as some particularly Maumee Valley Habitat for Humanity, I've been involved in budgeting and financial management through the leadership of those organizations. I've been a part of the hard discussions when we've had to right-size our budget, when we've had to cut expenses, and that often meant cutting positions, because usually in nonprofit, there's a lot of, just like the school district, 80%, 83% of the funding here goes to personnel. That's the similar of what I've experienced in organizations. I've been a part of those decisions, those conversations of how to have your budget, how you have your income and revenue meet your expenses. So I've been a part of all of that. As I worked with the treasurer and superintendent to create the Business Advisory Council, and as I've chaired that, I made it my, part of my job was, as chair of that, was to make sure I understood the school finances. And so I have been, I've worked a great deal in learning and understanding levies and understanding the bond issues and understanding the financial position of the district. And I feel well-versed in talking about those, of looking at the challenges coming before us, and trusting that as we come together, we will have the right answers for that. I've also served with the city. I was on the Street Tree Commission, and I'm now part of the Historic Landmarks Commission, and have ideas of how to work with the city council to address growth.
Thank you, Susan. Ashley, same question for you. I'll go ahead and repeat it because it's been a little bit of time. What skills and experiences make you qualified to understand school finance, contract negotiations, and methods to deal with growth in the district?
With a degree in accounting and having experience in the field, being part of the strategic planning committee, one of the things I found most interesting was when Randy would speak, or going to board meetings and hearing him speak. He was speaking my language, and so getting to dive into that through this whole process has been exciting for me, and I've been able to learn the differences between business finance and school finance, and how legislation affects all of those things. So I feel I will be an asset to the board in that respect, and be able to make that information easily accessible to our community members, because sometimes it's not always clear and easy to understand. So being able to make that communication and being transparent regarding that. Contract negotiations, that's not something that I, like Kelly Davis had said, have experience with personally. But I love learning, and I am happy to reach out to anyone. I'm great at asking questions and great at research, so finding the answers and learning about those things are something that I definitely can do. Addressing the growth, again, as Kelly Eubank said, I've experienced it. I've lived here. I was in a portable classroom at Fort Meigs when I was there, and there's still portable classrooms here. So the growth definitely is coming, and working with the city and being able to address that would be helpful.
Thank you, Ashley. Okay, our fourth and final question. We'll start with Kelly Davis. If the levy passes, who manages the $200 million 5-year project? What, if any, is the school board's role in this oversight?
Well, the school board will have to decide a few different things. Timelines on when they want everything to go out, when things should start. Also, I know that Randy often presents to us, and the contractors present to us who will be doing the work on the new buildings and stuff. We need to figure out, make sure that we're using nice local work for those sorts of things. I would have questions making sure that we are using local contractors for that building. That's very important to me, to make sure that we are spending our money in our community so that they can spend money on our local businesses also. I've heard that we have contracted some work out in the past to outside organizations that are in Indiana and in Kentucky, and we need to make sure that we keep our work here in the Perrysburg area. That's very important to me.
Thank you, Kelly. Kelly Eubank?
Can you repeat the question?
Of
please?
course, sure. If the levy passes, who manages the $200 million 5-year project? What, if any, is the school board's role in this oversight?
I think it's a $140 million project, not $200 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
don't have
Oh,
that.
okay, okay. That's why I wanted to make sure I heard the question correctly. Okay, thank
You
you.
did say 200 billion, though.
Okay, it's 140, but, so, I would lean on the treasurer. I know with HPI, I was not on the board when that was being built, but certainly as a community member, watch that be built, ask questions. So I imagine they would hire somebody that would oversee that. I don't know how much the board would get involved in the details and nitty-gritty of that, but certainly the board would approve things like that, but not necessarily have like a firsthand experience, I imagine, with the day-to-day things. I think it'd be more of a approving. I too would, and just talked to somebody yesterday, going door to door. I know there have been concerns, and I'm just now in the process of understanding how local unions and how you contract out things. So I'm not well versed in that, but am learning and reaching out to community members that are in the local union. So with that being said, I'm, again, still in the process, so I don't know how all that works and how you get bids in state and local, and so not quite sure how to answer that, to be honest, but I am looking into it, so I will know more in the future.
Thank you, Kelly. Susan Rowland Miller, same question.
Yeah, I do want to clarify that the full projects that the Facilities Committee put forward was 200 billion, but it's only 140, as Kelly Banks pointed out. That's actually on the ballot, and that's for a large portion, but that is the legal limit that the district cannot take on more debt than a certain ratio percentage of the income and revenue and cash that they have on hand. Having said that, it is the board's responsibility to oversee and ensure that these funds are spent appropriately, that $140 million of our taxpayer money is spent appropriately. So as a board member, I would expect regular updates, and I'm sure that they would be part of the monthly financial reports that we receive. We would certainly want regular reports from whoever is leading that as is delegated by the board. I know that James Mappis, the Director of Operations, has often overseen our PI levy requirements and has updated the board on those, but this is a big project too. We'll have to discuss who it is that will have that responsibility delegated to them. It is, though, the responsibility of the board to also stay in touch with the Ohio Facilities Construction Committee to ensure that we're fulfilling the requirements in order to get the $40 million, possibly in about 5 years, to get that refund, I'm going to call it. It would be the responsibility of the board to ensure that those requirements are met to receive those funds.
Thank you, Susan. Ashley, same question, and I'll repeat it. If the levy passes, who manages the $200 million 5-year project? What, if any, is the school board's role in this oversight?
I definitely think the board would have a lot of communication, as Susan said, between all of the people involved, whether that be the treasurer, whether that be contractors. I know Randy has talked about several projects that they put bids out for, and I know this is an extremely large project, and as much as we would want to use local contractors, that may not be the most financially wise decision when we put out bids to people. So I feel like that definitely has to be taken into consideration as well, wanting to make sure we are spending the money appropriately. And I would hope that the treasurer would make sure that he was doing everything he could, and I think that the board should be asking the questions and making sure that they are on top of the project and managing time and things like that.
Thank you, Ashley. Laura, same question for you, please.
There are multiple factors to look at in this. First of all, with the bond levy management, we need to look at the duration of the project, and is that person that we select going to be here for the whole time? You know, currently, our superintendent has 3 years left on his contract. This project is easily 5 years in duration, if not longer than that, with the different stages. You know, you have the treasurer that plays a huge role in this. We need to make sure whoever we select as a board is there for the duration and stays on task with everything. We do work with Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, which I'll refer to as OFCC. Used to be Ohio Schools Facility Commission, and they are great to work with because they stick to the book, they stick to their punch list. We've had issues in the past with some of our projects that the district has had to go back and fix. When it comes to who we use, whether it's local contractors and union, because we are a state entity, we are obligated to take the lowest bid as long as it meets all of the requirements. And we're also required to take a certain percentage of minority bids. So those are things that you have to understand. There's things out of our control that we cannot go past.
Thank you, Laura. Well, thank you. That was that concludes our question and answer section. Now we'll move on to closing remarks, and we're going to go in the opposite order that I read the biographies. So, Laura, we'll start with you. You have 2 minutes for your closing remarks, please.
I would like to say I thank you, first of all, ladies, for having us here. I think it's very important that we make sure whoever we elect here to the board, that we understand that they are going to have a tough time over the next couple of years with what is going on in the district. You need to make sure you have somebody who is educated or willing to be educated in this. We need to make sure that we are asking the tough questions, even if they are not going to be positive answers. We need to dig deep, and we need to make sure that we are doing the best that we can for this district in the long run. We need to be mindful of our taxpayers. We need to be mindful of the people who are the fabric of this district, who built this district. We always talk about inclusiveness. We need to be inclusive of people coming into the district, people who've been here a long time. I really do not want to see us taxing our senior citizens out of this district. They are an important part of our community. We need to make sure that if this bond issue passes, that we're ready to move forward with it, and if it doesn't pass, we need to make sure that we have a plan in place and we act on that as soon as we know which way this is going. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Ashley Sackett, your closing remarks?
My whole campaign is focused around educate, engage, and empowering together. Education for our students, but education for our community as well, and to the inner workings of schools that maybe everyone isn't privy to. Engagement and belonging for our students, as well as community engagement for those that aren't directly connected by having students in the schools. Empowering our students and our community to feel as if they have a voice. I hope to be a bridge builder, a voice that can bring people together, find common ground, and work together to create the best outcome for our students, staff, and parents. If elected, I seek to use my unique perspective as an elementary parent to ensure that from the very start, our students feel a sense of belonging and receive the top-notch education that Perrysburg is known for. Budgets and numbers do not intimidate me. I hope to strengthen the fiscal management of our finances, as well as make this information more accessible to our community members. Students are not politics. This board is intended to be nonpartisan and represent the entire community. If elected, I plan to treat the role in that manner. Investing in the next generation is our greatest hope for a brighter future. We truly are better when we work together. And I'm Ashley Sackett, and I just want to thank you all so much for putting this event together, and it's been great to be here.
Thank you, Ashley. Susan Rowland Miller, your final comments?
I want to thank the League of Women Voters for offering this opportunity to our community and for all the people who will watch it and vote. Please vote. Anyone who has ever worked in a team knows that effective decision-making doesn't happen when people are trying to win or lose. Well, they're always trying to win, but they're hoping somebody else will lose. Effective decision-making happens when both sides of an issue are willing to come together and sit down and listen to each other and bring their own experiences and perspective and knowledge to the table. We know that best decisions are found when team members respect one another and respect others' experience and perspectives. Effective leadership occurs when the goal is cooperation and collaboration, not winning. Our district is facing significant challenges in the next 5 years, significant challenges. And the community needs a board that will work cooperatively together to find the best solutions and path for our future together. I am committed to being a collaborative leader on the Board of Education. As a member of the Board of Education, I will bring my 30 years of experience in nonprofit leadership to enhance the school district and to enhance, therefore, the education that every student in the district receives. I will add experience in strategic planning to help guide the district to prepare for the class of 2040 and their futures. I will bring my skills in communication to work with staff and the community to prioritize and focus and improve the dialogue with our district. I will bring my experience in managing and leading teams of both staff and volunteers. And I will continue to work with the Business Advisory Council to identify paths for our students' future success. I would be honored to earn your vote, and I hope you will visit my campaign website and learn more about my background and priorities. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Kelly Eubank, your closing remarks.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for this forum today. Being a local substitute teacher the past few years and the only current school board member with a child actively in the district gives me a unique perspective. I've called Perrysburg home for over 45 years. I know that our schools are at the heart of the community. I also know that it will take a leadership and experience to maintain our reputation for excellence and to solve the hard challenges all school districts are facing in this environment. Although it can be uncomfortable, it's my duty as your elected representative to ask tough questions and encourage open discussion at school board meetings. I'm elected to represent you. I have close friends and family members on both political sides of the spectrum. It doesn't matter to me if you have a D or an R next to your name or what kind of sign you have in your yard. I represent you. That's what democracy is. This is an important time in the district. Despite the slings and arrows of public service, I'm still determined to serve the community I grew up in and represent the schools that educated me. I humbly ask for your support November 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. And Kelly Davis, your 2 minutes closing remarks, please.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters and the organizers for arranging this event, as well as all my fellow candidates for putting their own visions into this race. I really appreciate that. I really feel like being elected to an office, even one that I feel should be nonpartisan, is, I can tell you all of my viewpoints and how I think things should be run, but really what I need to do is get outreach from the community so you can tell me your viewpoints and your opinions and what you want for your community and what your vision is. And that's really what running for an election is. And so if you want to know more about me, visit my social media pages. I have a Facebook, an Instagram, and a YouTube channel. They're all at Kelly Davis Perrysburg. And you can find out more about me and my values. And if you see me out at a soccer game or rowing club or swim meets, come say hi to me. I welcome that conversation. I welcome that dialogue. You don't have to agree with everything that I say or what I think. I want to hear your point of view because that's important, and we're all a part of a community, and we need to bring that together and find out what works best for us.
Thank you. Well, that concludes this portion of our program. I want to thank you all, to each candidate, for participating today. And I'm going to turn it back over to Deborah for concluding remarks.
Thanks, Jackie. And thank you again to our candidates for coming today. We appreciate that. Just a reminder to our viewers to go to vote411.org and click on Find What's on Your Ballot. There's more Q&A with the candidates, information about them, including their social media links that they may have. So we are going to take another short break now, and when we resume, the Perrysburg Township Trustee candidates will be on board. So thank you very much. Welcome back to the League of Women Voters Perrysburg Area's 2023 Candidates Forum. I'm Deborah Greenlee Gorman, the president of the Perrysburg League. We are ready to resume our forum today with the candidates for Perrysburg Township Trustee. I'm going to repeat a few of the items from my earlier remarks for the candidates' benefit. We asked you not to make audio or video recordings during the forum and to observe the League's rule that the recording of each race be viewed only in its entirety. We solicited questions from the public and League members prior to the forum, and they have been screened for our moderator to pose to the candidates. The candidates have not seen the questions in advance. Our screeners were League members Christy Bezzosi, Kathy Donahue, and me. We have no in-person audience today, but I would like to acknowledge the WBGU staff that is recording the program and our League volunteers helping us out. Shirley Johnson and Michelle Sweetser will be our timers. Greeters are Karen Roderick Lingeman and Mel Ward. Roseanne Barker is assistant moderator, and our moderator is Jackie Stedman. Jackie, I'll turn the program over to you.
Thank you, Deborah. I will take a moment to highlight our ground rules for today's forum, which were previously shared with the candidates. First, I will introduce the candidates and read the 100-word biographical statement that each candidate submitted. After that, we'll move directly to questions and answers. As mentioned earlier, questions for the candidates were submitted in advance by citizens in our area and members of the League of Women Voters. The questions were then reviewed and selected by a committee of League members to avoid duplication and to choose appropriate questions for each office. I will designate which candidate will be the first to answer each question. After this candidate has answered, the other candidate will have the opportunity to answer the question. To be fair to the candidates, we will vary the order in which they respond to each question. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer a question. Our timers will notify you as they approach the 90-second time allotment. When the timekeeper indicates that time is up, the candidate will be permitted to finish a sentence. Candidates will be given 2 minutes at the close of the forum to make closing remarks. Closing remarks will be made in the opposite order as the biographical statements were read. So we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, I'm going to start with the biographical statement for Lauren Bassan's grounds. When Lauren moved to Ohio, she fell in love. From the incredible small businesses and welcoming people to a neighborhood for any lifestyle and park system, she appreciates it all. As a program manager and community organizer for many years, she knows how to build relationships and find solutions that balance the practical and the aspirational. Her Master of Public Health and Environmental Health gives her a deep understanding of the impact of our man-made environment on physical and mental health. In her spare time, Lauren likes to explore our park system and cook for her husband, friends, and family. The biography for Joe Schaller, married 42 years to Mary. We have a daughter, Laura. 1977 graduate of Rossford High School. I grew up helping on the family farm and now own Schaller Trucking, a stone and topsoil hauling business. Employed by Perrysburg Township for 30 years in the road maintenance department, serving my second term as Perrysburg Township trustee. I have been involved with the Make-A-Wish organization since 1994. I currently serve on the New Belleville Ridge Cemetery Board. I am currently a board member of the Rossford Bulldog Foundation and won the Rossford Alumni Award of Distinction in 2022. So we'll go ahead and get started with the questions for this afternoon. And Joe, we're going to start with you with the first question.
Okay.
Question 1. Are you concerned about traffic issues in parts of the township? If so, how will you address these issues?
Well, absolutely. Traffic's an issue that we deal with most every day, and it is getting worse. So we work with ODOT, we work with the county on their routes, which they have quite a few miles of road within the township as well, and trying to get some of these issues addressed and get traffic moving faster. We're looking at a diversions diamond with ODOT, and that would be in the Route 20 corridor near the French Quarter, where it was, and the new French Quarter Square, to help those businesses. We're also having some problems with the Amazon traffic, and we're working with the Transportation Road Improvement District with that, and they're currently upgrading Lime City and Dimeling roads to get some of the traffic out that way. So we're really hoping that's going to help. And we've been working with Rossford, of course, Middleton Township, Lake Township, to get some of those arteries open and keep things moving. And the Transportation District's also doing a study on Route 795 currently on the intersections and stuff there. And we're trying to get that moving and that flow a little smoother. But it's going to be an ongoing problem.
Thank you. Lauren Bassan's grounds, same question, and I can repeat it if you'd like.
That's okay. So I've only lived here for 7 years, and I fully own that, but I live in the Perrysburg Heights neighborhood, so it's right off Route 25. There have been some great improvements with the traffic situation over there, and of course that was work that the city and the township were able to do together. But what we're seeing a lot in these smaller neighborhoods, as the traffic is bad on our larger roads, we get a lot of cut-through traffic through all of these smaller neighborhoods. I know, at least in where I live and many other places, folks really very much would like to not only have their roads improved, they would like to have speed bumps put in. Now, I know not everybody loves speed bumps, but at this point, when our kids are out playing, we need to make sure that they are safe, that traffic is flowing more smoothly. I would also like to make sure that we are working very closely with, as Mr. Schaller said, other municipalities. I've been talking to some folks on city council, and of course, there are parts of township roads that they have done repairs on. These road projects need to be done simultaneously and in conjunction with one another. I would love to see a large-scale traffic study put into place. And finally, we have some soccer fields that do not have good exit flow traffic. There is one road in and out of them, and in the case of any sort of type of medical emergency, any sort of national catastrophe, we're going to have problems getting folks in and out of those areas. So examining ways in which we can expand our road systems, working with ODOT, and really getting some great grant funding and using what we have in those funds already.
Thank you, Lauren. Okay, the second question, we'll start with you, Lauren. The question is, what line item in the township's budget concerns you the most? How will you address it?
My concern is I haven't seen a budget. I've looked at the website, and I can't find a budget on there. I've been to some of the township meetings, and I can hear things that are going on. But my concern is not being able to see a budget, and I'm extremely passionate about making sure that our township residents know exactly how many funds we have in the bank, where our funds are going, and so we can just ask those questions directly to our trustees and have great communication. I think we need to know exactly where things are going to. Some of the things that I've heard in meetings do concern me, as much as I appreciate, I'm all for the new fire levy. As much as I appreciate the work that our emergency responders do, I think there are some funds that don't need to necessarily be allocated as township giveaways, like t-shirts for the police department. Really making sure that we're using our dollars in a more sustainable and safe way. But again, I would really just like to see the budget. Maybe Mr. Schaller can tell me where on the website that is.
Schaller, the question is, what line item in the township's budget concerns you the most, and how will you address it?
We don't necessarily have any that really concern me. We've got a very conservative board, and I think our team with our department heads and stuff are very conservative, and have been. And the costs continue to go up, of course, on everything, whether it be vehicles or lunch, it's just ridiculous. But we've tried to live with it. We've tried to live with the supply chain and things like that. Our budget is available. We have just switched to a UAN system, which is kind of a statewide system. We have a new fiscal officer. She's been there for about a year. And Gretchen Welch has addressed that and got us switched over to the UAN system. But we try to do things as transparent as possible, but it is not on the website that I know of. But if we usually have copies of it at the meetings, and not every month, but as it comes around. And we have our expenditures and stuff on there. But yeah, the prices of things do concern me, but we try to do the best we can with what we've got. We keep quite a bit in reserves, just in case something does go bad, and try to be prepared for any emergencies or outgoing things.
Thank you. Okay, the third question, Joe, I'll start with you. Sure. The question is, the city of Perrysburg has community gardens which residents may rent for the season. Will you work towards having this same opportunity available to township residents?
We have not at this point. We don't have a location for that. I guess we do. We may have a location for that where there's a future park going in on Simmons Road near Bass Pro Shops. We just really haven't had a lot of requests for that, and so that has not been addressed. The 577 Foundation has a garden on Bates Road and near the end of Ford, and if at some point you get a chance, take a drive by and take a look at it. It's they've had that there for several years, but no, at this point we haven't had a request for that.
Thank you. Lauren, the same question?
I would love to see community gardens. Of course, living so close to the Perrysburg Garden, we see what folks are doing there, and it really is great work. In the township, though, a lot of folks do have more land than they would in the city, so they're able to put in small gardens in their own yards. I know I have one in my own yard with raised beds and everything I really enjoy. But if that is something that we do get requests for, I agree. We definitely should find a way to address that because, of course, folks in apartments, folks who are landlocked, they definitely need a space to have that time to spend outside and enjoy nature. And as I've said, I love our park system. I love being outside in our township, and just going out and being able to garden is such a great way to experience that, especially if you can get something like a great pollinator garden going. That's really exciting to me.
Thank you. Okay, the fourth and last question. Lauren, I'll start with you. What suggestions do you have, if any, that would provide additional transparency in the operation of the township trustees?
I would love to see a brand new website with a full-time developer on staff. I know that the funds are in reserve, that we would be able to potentially pay someone to do that work, but you can't have just an administrator running a website. It's not possible. I've worked in positions in my life where not only was I providing customer service, I was providing a type of managerial role, but I was also in charge of the website. And that is nearly impossible to do. We need somebody with long-term experience, somebody who is committed to making sure that our minutes are up on the website immediately, that we're able to live stream meetings. And of course, folks who are watching a live stream can't participate in the meetings, but making sure that folks who can't attend a 3:30 or 4 o'clock meeting have the opportunity to view everything as it has actually happened, much like you are here today. The budget as well, being on the website would be wonderful, and not just at some point down the road or just at some meetings. Just really making sure that folks can discuss with their trustees. So a direct response system, not necessarily emailing a single trustee, but emailing all of them, and then the most appropriate person with the correct experience is able to get back to them. Of course, that system could also include our fiscal officer as well as our township administrator. So I would just really like to see a lot more conversation and with the trustees as well as the residents.
Thank you. Joe Schaller, I'll ask you the same question. What suggestions do you have, if any, that would provide additional transparency in the operation of the township trustees?
Well, like Lauren said, with the video recordings and stuff, right now we're operating with a pretty old administration building, and we do have plans in progress to build a new administration building with a lot of IT stuff in it, of course, and I think that's going to provide us with a better capability of recording meetings and things like that. Our meetings right now are recorded. They're up on our website. The audio is, not the visual. And we honestly get very little response from that. We don't get a lot of people that ask a lot of questions because of it. And but people are open to give us a call. All of our numbers are very transparent, our emails. If someone would want to get a hold of us and ask us a question about anything, the decisions we've made or what we've got going on, and it just really hasn't been an issue. So, but yeah, I'll agree. I think our meetings do need to be videoed and made more public. And so with the new administration building, which we've been saving up for a long time, should give us that capability.
Thank you. Okay. Well, that concludes our question and answer portion. Now you both will have an opportunity to make a 2-minute, to offer 2-minute closing remarks. And Joe Schaller, we're going to go ahead and start with you.
Well, as a present member of the Board of Trustees, I would like to bring my experience and knowledge back to Perrysburg Township for at least one more term. I think we have to sustain and control the growth in the township, and that's going to come in our future. We're at the crossroads of the United States with the turnpike here in I-75, and that's going to happen. Along with all of this will come traffic and infrastructure issues. It's not just about roads, it's about drainage, it's about curbing, things like that. It all goes along with it, and it all goes hand in hand. I will be up for that challenge. We have all witnessed multiple disasters throughout our country the last, well, forever. And I support our safety services. I will, and I have, to make sure they have the tools in their toolbox to address these issues. We've been through COVID. That was quite a disaster. But the train wreck in East Palestine, Ohio, I've always voted for education and tools for our police and fire and safety services, as well as our maintenance, so we can address those issues as they come. And right now we have the eclipse coming up in April of 2024, which is going to be interesting, but we've had several meetings on it. As a public servant, I will strive to enrich the lives of our residents, roads, schools, hospitals, shopping, traffic, and the list continues. I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Lauren, Bassan's Grounds, your 2-minute closing remarks.
Thank you. Like I said earlier, I've only been a resident here for about 7 years, but in that time, I've seen the township not work very closely with the city. Our new fire building is gorgeous. I had a really great time seeing that yesterday. Unfortunately, it's kind of out at the edges of our township. In conversations with folks on council, it's been very concerning to me that our folks are driving extremely far to get to fires and emergencies. While I think we should certainly have separate police departments, that makes the most sense. We need to look at working together instead of on our fire and EMS services, instead of simply transferring funds back and forth. Let's come up with a combined strategy to ensure the fastest response times to all edges of our township, especially because, as I like to say, our township is Swiss cheese. So we need to make sure that everybody in all of those cheesy parts, they're actually receiving the services they pay for. I'm extremely invested in looking at how we can get trash service to especially those denser parts of our township. While that may not be feasible out in the more rural areas, our subdivisions certainly do need a trash service. Right now, I've got 4 trucks coming through my neighborhood every single week. That's bad for the environment. It's disruptive to all of our families and our animals. We really want to make sure that those same services the city gets, we are able to provide as a township. And when it does come to natural disasters, obviously Mr. Schaller has lived here much longer than I have. He has the experience on the Board of Trustees already, but I have a fresh perspective. I have a history of, like I said, program management, my Master of Public Health. I'm very invested in ensuring that our township stays healthy, our residents stay healthy, and we find solutions to ensure that everybody has the best quality of life here in the township. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both for participating. That concludes our program. Again, we really appreciate you both being here today. And Deborah will have a few final remarks.
Well, and I thank you both for coming today, too. We really appreciate that. You're welcome. And just a reminder to our viewers to go to vote411.org and click on Find What's on Your Ballot for more Q&A with the candidates and more information about them. And then one final note, the Perrysburg Township Fiscal Officer race will also be on the November 7th ballot. However, this is an uncontested race, and the league only conducts forms for contested races. So this concludes the 2023 League of Women Voters Perrysburg Area's Candidates Forum, and we thank you for watching.